Now the most viewed video on my channel is adding Dynaco into F1 and simulating 10 years with over 250,000 views. And the second most viewed video is adding Lightning McQueen with almost 200,000. Now these videos are clear of anything else on my channel, so I thought I would head back to the Cars universe and add the third racer from the Piston Cup, HICKS. Racing against the King and McQueen in the Piston Cup in the first film, HICKS is primarily sponsored by HTB, aka Hostile Takeover Bank, which will be the team for this simulation. He's also known for being a complete so I think the only suitable choice for his first teammate is Devon Butler. So I loaded up F123 MyTeam, created the HTB team with this driver pairing, set all the development settings to automatic and simulated through 10 years of the career. Will HICKS be able to pick up a championship cleanly unlike his Piston Cup achievement, or will he crash out like the King? But before we get into the simulation, please scroll down and subscribe if you haven't already and drop a like to show your support. It would be greatly appreciated and helps more than you can imagine. Now this is the real life seasonal counterpart and doesn't look too different from what is expected. Red Bull are able to secure the first Constructors' Championship in this simulation, with Ferrari finishing second and the Mercedes team finishing in third. The Constructors' Championship is almost mirrored in regards to the Drivers' Championship, with the Mercedes driver George Russell finishes in third just like his team. In second place is the Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc, finishing just behind the first championship winner in Max Verstappen. Verstappen had absolutely dominated this championship after winning 10 races throughout the season. Despite only finishing third place, George Russell managed to pick up 3 wins, while Leclerc, Perez and Hamilton all managed to win a single race each. A solid start for the HTB team as they finished mid-table with a respectable 6th place finish. HICKS did manage to creep into the top 10, scoring 14 points, with Butler finishing P13 scoring 5. In regards to driver moves, there were a few after the first season, with the veteran of Fernando Alonso deciding to finally retire from Formula 1. This causes Alex Albon to move into the Aston Martin team with an open seat at Williams for Liam Lawson. And despite winning 3 times and coming third in the championship, Mercedes make a strange decision and drop George Russell in favour of the rookie Dennis Hauger. Going into the next season, there will also be some regulation changes to the chassis and durability departments. Unfortunately for Liam Lawson, he was dropped by Williams after just half a season and replaced with the former Williams driver of George Russell. Dennis Hauger in the Mercedes also couldn't survive an entire season and was replaced by Zhou Guanyu, with Logan Sargent taking his place at Alfa Romeo. Fortunately, that did open up a seat at Williams and allows Dennis Hauger to finish the season with the Mercedes customer team. Moving on into the second season, and Red Bull have been able to replicate their success and win their second consecutive Constructors' Championship of this simulation. However, the biggest improvement will come from McLaren as they jump up to second place in the Constructors ahead of Ferrari and Mercedes. It's a back-to-back third place in the Drivers' Championship for Mercedes, but this time it's Lewis Hamilton who finishes in third place. A different face in the top 3 this season as the Red Bull of Sergio Perez finishes second behind his teammate, the reigning F1 Drivers' Champion Max Verstappen. He didn't quite replicate the performance from last year as he only won 8 times, but that was half of the season. Hamilton continues his winning ways by winning 3 races, while Verstappen's teammate of Perez won twice. Lando Norris also secured his first race wins by winning twice, with his teammate of Oscar Piastri also securing his first race win. Unfortunately, the HTB team dropped down to P8 after a slightly poorer season, with Devon Butler finishing P14 after scoring only 8 points, and HICKS could only manage a P15 after he only scored 6. Devon Butler is the most recent F1 driver to retire after spending 2 seasons with the HTB team. They replaced him with Valtteri Bottas, with the open Alfa Romeo seat questionably taken by Carlos Sainz. Kevin Magnussen takes a large step up from customer team to supplier and joins the Ferrari team for next season. Alex Albon changes teams after just a season with Aston Martin and moves into the open Haas, with Zhou Guanyu moving to Aston Martin. For the first time in F123, Daniel Ricciardo returns, and after 2 seasons he moves into Mercedes, with Nico Hülkenberg moving to AlphaTauri. Oscar Piastri moves to Haas, George Russell moves to McLaren, and Liam Lawson will return to Williams after being dropped halfway through the season. Alongside Devon Butler, 7-time champion Sir Lewis Hamilton also decides it's time to retire and is replaced by Dennis Hauger despite the Mercedes team dropping him halfway through the season. Logan Sargent then returns to Williams after just half a season at Alfa Romeo, with the rookie of Théo Pourchaire making his Formula 1 debut with Alfa Romeo next season. Alongside the abundance of driver moves, there will be some changes to the regulations regarding the aerodynamics and powertrain departments. Not much has changed in the Constructors' Championship as once again Red Bull lead, with McLaren not too far behind. However, the HTB team have made a massive improvement and have jumped from 8th to 3rd, even with a new driver and new regulations. There was a return in face in the top 3 of the Drivers' Championship as George Russell finishes in 3rd place with his new McLaren car. The Red Bull of Sergio Perez then finishes just ahead, with his teammate of Max Verstappen winning back-to-back World Drivers' Championships. No one can say he doesn't deserve it though, as he returns to winning 10 races in a single season, only letting his teammate win twice. And even though Russell came third, he only won once, whereas teammate of Lando Norris managed to win 2 races. We also had the first ever race winner for the HTB team, as Valtteri Bottas was able to secure the top step, even if it was just once. It was an incredible season for HTB as they shoot up to third in the constructors. HICKS records his highest finish as he secures 58 points for the P8 finish, with race winner Valtteri Bottas scoring 159 points and finishing in 5th. Now, somewhat surprisingly, there were absolutely no driver moves or regulation changes after Season 3, so one can only assume that next season is going to finish somewhat similar to how this season did. Despite no changes in the drivers or regulations, McLaren have managed to topple Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship, with the HTB team once again securing 3rd place. The top 3 in the Drivers' Championship look slightly different, even though George Russell finishes 3rd for the 3rd time in 4 years. A brand new face secured 2nd place as the McLaren of Lando Norris managed to outscore his teammate by 15 points. But of course, for the 4th season in a row, Max Verstappen wins the World Drivers' Championship. But it wasn't quite domination, as both Verstappen and Norris managed to finish the season with 5 race wins each. Lando's teammate of George Russell won twice and just beat out Valtteri Bottas, who somehow managed to win 4 times. This massively helped the team maintain their 3rd place finish, as Bottas moved up to 4th with 197 points, while HICKS moved into 6th after scoring 153 championship points. Now, there were some driver moves this season, but they were sparked by the retirement of Nico Hülkenberg. An open seat in AlphaTauri was given to Dennis Hauger, allowing Valtteri Bottas to return to the Mercedes team. This means that HTB will lose their race winner but replace him with another race winner, as the team signed Carlos Sainz after his dodgy move to Alfa Romeo. This allows Zhou Guanyu to return to Alfa Romeo, with Yuki Tsunoda joining Aston Martin. Felipe Drugovich is then able to make his Formula 1 debut in Season 5, racing for AlphaTauri. Some big changes are set to be made to the chassis, powertrain and durability departments, which could see a huge shake-up in both championships next season. The huge regulation changes have indeed caused a shake-up in the championships, as HTB team have managed to win their 1st Constructors' Championship in Season 5. They beat the McLaren team, with Aston Martin making a surprising jump up into 3rd. The McLaren driver Lando Norris drops down to 3rd place but still finishes ahead of his teammate George Russell. HICKS records his best ever finish as he manages it all the way up to finish in 2nd place. This season also brings a brand new F1 Drivers' Champion, as the new HTB driver of Carlos Sainz tops the standings for his 1st as well as the team's 1st driver's title. The most dominant season yet for any driver, as Carlos Sainz has managed to win 12 times in a 16-race season, which is just unbelievable. 4 other drivers were also able to win a race, with Tsunoda, Norris, Russell and the one and only HICKS all winning once. It was a clean sweep for the HTB team, with them winning the Constructors and Sainz and HICKS finishing P1 and P2 in the Drivers' Championship. After a poor season and dropping out with the top 10, the Red Bull driver of Sergio Perez has finally decided to retire from Formula 1. Felipe Drugovich is given the call up from AlphaTauri to the Red Bull team, with Jack Doohan giving his debut with AlphaTauri. After coming so close to winning the championship last season and dropping down to 3rd this season, Lando Norris leaves the McLaren team but isn't able to find a seat anywhere else and is made a free agent. McLaren go and sign the young talent of Théo Pourchaire as Alex Albon moves into the open Alfa Romeo. Marcus Armstrong is then given his debut and will be driving for Haas next season. Unfortunately for Felipe Drugovich, he has been brought up too early and was dropped halfway through the season, with Liam Lawson making the move to Red Bull. Lando Norris is able to find a way back into Formula 1 with a Williams seat for the 2nd half of the season. Marcus Armstrong was then dropped by Haas and was replaced by Iwasa. Alex Albon was also unfortunately dropped by Alfa Romeo during the summer and was replaced by Jack Doohan, with Callum Williams being signed for AlphaTauri for the 2nd half of the season. And it's back-to-back championships for the HTB team, with McLaren once again finishing just behind. Previous 3rd place Aston Martin dropped all the way down to 7th, with Ferrari managing to finish in 3rd. HICKS once again secures a top 3 finish, but he slips down to 3rd after his P2 finish last year. Another brand new face finishes 2nd this year, as the new McLaren driver of Théo Pourchaire beats HICKS by just 3 points. And after the domination of last season, there was no way anyone else other than Carlos Sainz was going to win the championship this year. He went ahead and dominated even more this season by winning a total of 14 races. Now, HICKS wasn't able to win another race this season, but both the McLarens of Théo Pourchaire and George Russell were able to win once. And it wasn't quite the clean sweep from last season, but both championships were won by the HTB drivers. HICKS finished only 3rd place, but Carlos Sainz was able to win consecutive back-to-back drivers' championships. The former HTB driver of Valtteri Bottas is the latest driver to retire from Formula 1, with Ayumu Iwasa taking his seat in Mercedes. Frederic Westy is then signed by Haas and can make his debut next season. Logan Sargent is unfortunately dropped by Williams and replaced by Yuri Vips. And the 2-time champion of Carlos Sainz leaves the HTB team and heads back to Red Bull, with Max Verstappen driving the HTB team next season. And there will be some small regulation changes to both the aerodynamics and powertrain departments heading into Season 7. Now mid-season wasn't fun for quite a few drivers, with Iwasa, Ocon, Vesti and Vips all losing their seats halfway through the season. Drugovich returns and will drive for Mercedes, Sargent will drive for Alpine, Armstrong is back at Haas, and Deruvilla will make his debut with Williams. Another Constructors' Championship is in the bag for the HTB team, with McLaren and Ferrari once again finishing in 2nd and 3rd respectively. Despite just missing out on the top 3 last season, George Russell in the McLaren is able to improve this year and finish in 3rd place. HICKS once again finishes in a solid 2nd place, but finishes just behind his brand new teammate of Max Verstappen. Now he saw the success of Carlos Sainz winning 14 races and decided to do one better and won 15 out of 16 races this season. The other race winner was the 3rd place George Russell. Another clean sweep for the HTB team, with both titles once again secured. P1 and P2 for both drivers again for the 2nd time. Last season we had a Finnish driver retire, and this year we'll see the Danish driver of Kevin Magnussen retiring from Formula 1. Max Verstappen won his title and moved on to Ferrari, with Pierre Gasly moving from Alpine into the open HTB seats. Alex Albon is able to return to F1 with a seat at Alpine alongside his former teammate of Logan Sargent. Drugovich was signed mid-season but was dropped and replaced by Esteban Ocon in the Mercedes for next year. Now this year was a lot closer, with the HTB team dropping down to 3rd place. McLaren have returned to the top of the Constructors' Championship, with Red Bull finishing 6 points behind in 2nd place. Two-time champion, former HTB driver Carlos Sainz enters the top 3 in his new Red Bull, with the McLaren of George Russell finishing in 2nd place. And once again we have a brand new champion. The new HTB driver of Pierre Gasly takes his first ever Drivers' Championship. And it was more modest for race wins this season, with the champion of Gasly winning 6 races. Carlos Sainz was also able to win 4 times, with George Russell winning 3. Liam Lawson becomes the newest race winner, as he manages to win twice, with Theo Pourchaire winning just a single race. HTB unfortunately do drop down to 3rd place despite Gasly winning the Drivers' Championship. HICKS dropped all the way down to P8 after only managing to score 108 points. For the 2nd time in this simulation, there was no driver moves or regulation changes, and we will head into Season 9 just the way we headed into Season 8. We are now in a penultimate season, and McLaren were able to secure back-to-back championships, beating out the HTB team by around 30 points and Red Bull finishing just behind. After not being able to enter the top 3 since Season 6, the McLaren driver Theo Pourchaire returns and finishes 3rd place this season. A brand new face comes in at 2nd place, with the Red Bull driver of Liam Lawson outscoring Pourchaire by around 40 points for that 2nd place. But in 1st place, the newest driver to complete back-to-back Drivers' Championships is the HTB driver of Pierre Gasly. Gasly managed to secure half of the season by winning 8 times. 2nd place Lawson managed to secure 3 race wins, while both McLaren drivers of Pourchaire and George Russell won twice. Carlos Sainz has also been able to pick up a race win in his Red Bull. Now the HTB team can only finish in 2nd place despite Gasly's championship win. HICKS drops down even further into P10 after only scoring 82 points. Now 2 drivers are set to retire from Formula 1 this year, with the Alpine driver of Alex Albon being the first. Felipe Drugovich is then given another chance in Formula 1 and will drive for Alpine in the final season. The current HTB driver of Pierre Gasly is also set to retire after doing the double. The HTB team see the potential in Liam Lawson and sign him going into the final season, with Iwasa signing for Red Bull. And going into the final season, there will be some slight regulation changes being made to the chassis department. Before we get into the results of the final season, unfortunately Ayumu Iwasa was replaced by Lando Norris halfway through the season. But in the final season, McLaren do go on to win their 3rd consecutive Constructors' Championship, with the Red Bull overtaking the HTB team. A returning face in the top 3, with Lando Norris managing to finish 3rd despite changing teams midway through the season. George Russell in the McLaren has been able to sneak his way back into 2nd place, but just loses out to the new HTB driver of Liam Lawson. Now Lawson managed to replicate Gasly's form from last season and also goes on to win 8 races, with Russell winning a total of 4 times. Lando Norris won twice, both with the Red Bull team, while his predecessor of Iwasa was fortunate enough to win a race before being dropped. Theo Pourchaire also managed to go on and win a race this season. HTB dropped down to 3rd even with the championship win. Now HICKS did gain a place and moved up to finish P9 in this final season. Well, that is now 10 seasons simulated with the HTB team and HICKS in Formula 1, so let's have a look at the final stats from the full 10 seasons and who got the most wins. Across the 10 years, 3 different teams won the Constructors' Championship, with McLaren winning 4 championships while both Red Bull and the HTB team won it 3 times. 4 different drivers won a Drivers' Championship, with Max Verstappen winning half of the simulation with 5. Both Carlos Sainz and Pierre Gasly won back-to-back championships with the HTB team, while Liam Lawson also won a championship with the team. A total of 15 different drivers won a Formula 1 race, with Max Verstappen winning the most at 48. Carlos Sainz came in 2nd place after winning 31 races, with Russell winning 18. Gasly won 14, while Lawson won 13, and Lando Norris won 12. Perez, Bottas and Pourchaire all won 5 times, while Hamilton won 4. Leclerc, Piastri, HICKS, Tsunoda and Iwasa were all race winners in this simulation, even if it was just the once. But But that is going to wrap up this video of adding HTB and HICKS into Formula 1 23 MyTeam and simulating through 10 seasons. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please drop a like as it would help out so much, and subscribe if you haven't already. In the description there will also be links to both my Instagram and my Twitter pages, so if you want to go follow them and keep up to date with any new videos that are coming out, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. On screen should be a playlist of all the simulations I've done on F1 23 MyTeam, so go ahead and watch all of them and let me know which one is your favourite. But from me, that is going to be it, so have a good day, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Goodbye.